just vent in the attic. You go all the way out through the roof, right?
Right. Because it would be a collection point
Sure.
at that point.
Right.
And our fans, there's guidelines we follow, EPA guidelines. EPA has set the guidelines basically that we follow. The fans need to be above any livable area. So if you have an attic or you have a bedroom above, however, your garage with a bedroom above, we need to go above that living space with our fans. They can be in the garage if there's nothing above it or outside. And then we want to pipe that up above the lowest eave of the roof. We don't want it to be able to come back into the home.
Recirculate and come back down through.
Right. And I had talked with a gentleman when I first met you. He came up after that meeting and said he loves it when he mows. He'll walk by his radon system and it's cool air, and he'll stand there and get cool air. And I said, oh, really? Well, that shouldn't be possible because you're obviously breathing that concentrated radon.
Yeah, not a good idea.
That needs to go up above the roof. We don't put them above. I've seen them where they stop at the eave of the roof. Well, that's warm and moist air coming out from under your home. That's going to cause a mildewing effect if you do that. So just those little guidelines you want to follow, putting a system in and go above that roof. So then it can go bye-bye in the air.
Wow. And when we were talking earlier about the fact that radon's been around since
the Earth was
formed.
Earth was formed, yeah.
So it's nothing new. It's always been there.
And at the same concentration, it's coming out of that uranium ground. It's just, it's always been there, and it probably always will be there. Yeah, it's got a billion's half-life coming out of the soil,
Sure.
And it's actually not the radon gas that's causing the problem. It's the decay products. Once it breaks down, those decay products become radioactive. They can be breathed in and attached to our lung tissue, and it changes the lung tissue on a cellular level, which is what causes the lung cancer.
Because that's what cancer does. It changes your cellular level in your body. So that's just a way for that to happen.
Exactly.
Wow. It's interesting.
It is interesting.
Well, me being in the real estate business and the home building business, there's always been talk about radon, but nobody ever really brought it to the forefront. It's just like kind of pushed to the back, and then every now and then we get somebody requesting a radon check, and we've had one or two of our new houses that tested high, and we had to put a mitigation system in. It doesn't happen very often, but but I think people are becoming more aware of it now.
They're very much becoming aware, and I had a question posed to me once that said, well, it's fairly new, isn't it? And I said, no, it's not new. In fact, when my father purchased his farm 40 whatever years ago, he did a radon test. I didn't realize it until I was going through some of his paperwork recently after he passed, and I saw the radon testing. It's like, wow, that's interesting. Now I'm doing it,
Sure.
But his farmhouse was free of radon, luckily, so didn't have a system put in. But
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And didn't you say maybe part of the reason why this is becoming something that people are more interested in is because we're actually building our houses where they're a little tighter, so we don't have the escape for it.
Well, the green features and the tightening up the construction might play a little bit into it. I mean, every house has the opportunity to have it. It depends on the construction, where they sit on the ground, the atmospheric pressures, things like that. You've got that stack effect in a home, and when we build our houses so tight, they don't breathe like they used to.
Right.
So we do.
Which is probably why the farmhouse didn't have a radon problem.
More than
most of those farmhouses breathe pretty well.
Yeah.
It breathed really well. I used to say I can dry my hair at the window without that air coming in, but that's not necessarily going to give you or not give you high levels. You want to check, and we check the lowest possible living area. We don't check your crawl spaces. I've never done a check in an attic, which it could collect in an attic, so to speak, but we'll check an area, even if it's an unfinished basement. That basement could be finished and become a living area. The kids play down there.
Sure.
Probably, I don't know what percentage, but a great percentage of the people say, yeah, well, my kids play down there. Well,
right.
Yeah, so we do our testing there. Now, if it's that creepy old basement with the old stone walls and the mechanical down there, we won't test there because it's not considered a livable area. We'll test on the main living area then. So, and our tests run 48-hour continual radon monitor boxes do. The home inspectors use those. They use the canisters where they send it off, and they're all just about as accurate. There's many different ways to do.
but they're equally accurate. You know, those unfinished concrete basements are really cool. They are really cool roller skating rinks.
I love to roller skate.
Yeah, back when we were roller skating, if we had
indeed.
a friend or someone that the basement wasn't finished with concrete, oh man, that was just a cool place to go roller skate and play and jump rope and do all kinds of stuff. Especially if it wasn't nice outside. You know, when we were kids, we were outside a lot. But if it was one of those days where, you know, you couldn't really be outside for long periods of time, then that was a good alternative.
And that's another good point. People are inside so much
more.
Kids don't play out like they used to. I mean, some of them do, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's less and less now that we have, you know, all the computers and the video games and I mean, we have, you know, our electronic world is so immense, and kids don't get out and...
Maybe we should
use
put
their imagination like they used to.
Put their equipment out on the patio. Maybe they'll go out there and do their computers there.
Yeah,
at least get some sunshine or something. Fresh air.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So we do want that, but something we need to do is we need to give our phone numbers.
We do. I bet we have a listener that might have a question about all this stuff. I had lots of questions. Surely I'm not the only one that had questions about this.
Oh, no, I'm sure there's lots of questions out there.
Yeah.
862-9977, 1-800-375-0056, or you can send us a text at 417-838-3192, and we'll read your question over there if you're shy and don't want to talk on the radio. So
that's true. We can do that because we are happy to accommodate our listeners.
We are any way that we can.
I mean, I could have done this show by text.
You could have done this by text.
Oh man,
it just wouldn't have been as good.
It wouldn't have been as good.
There you go.
It'd have been just me and Mark talking. So
yeah,
and we've done that before.
We have a few times. Yeah.
It's always good when we have a guest that knows more about what they're doing than we do.
Yeah.
Well, you know that doesn't mean I know as much about it, but.
Well, you know, it's like I say, it's one of those things that's become more and more important to people. They want to make sure their home is safe, and you know, I think it's a good idea to do. Now, when a person wants to have a test, you know, like being in the real estate, most people will have a home inspection.
Correct.
Is that the person you need to talk to, your home inspector?
Yeah. The majority time the home inspector will ask, do you want a radon test? They test for well, septic, radon, termite, anything. That's fine. If they don't have a home inspector that they're using, they can call me and I can come and set a test for them. And we're seeing levels across the board. We're seeing, I had a Branson client call and said, I did a test and my level's 2.7. But I really want it down below 1. Can you put a system in? And I said, well, yeah, that's a very acceptable level, deemed acceptable by EPA, of course, but we can put your system in if you want. He had a brand new home. So most of the people won't do that if their levels are below 4 and go ahead and hit the expense for doing that. And they all run different costs based on the size, the construction, what we're dealing with under the house.
Sure.
Yeah. But we've had levels, I think one of the highest was 40 or 41. Picocures per liter, which is extremely high.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that client's husband passed away from lung cancer. He was a smoker, but we mitigated their home, and their post-mitigation levels were 0.1, which is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, you know, we've been 100% successful in mitigating and getting the levels below 4 in every case. There have been, I think, 3 that we've had to go back and modify the system in some way because the level didn't get down. And at that time, it did. So we're still at 100% success rate. So that makes me happy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Once someone puts one of these systems in, do you have to recheck it periodically, or how does that work?
The way our warranty is for the system is that the fans are warranted for 5 years from the manufacturer. So of course, as long as the fan is running, the system's warranted to pull those levels down to where they are when we do our post check. We put a performance indicator on the pipe. It doesn't measure the radon. What it tells us is that there's suction on the pipe, which tells us the system's running. It's called a manometer. It's a U-tube. It's a glass tube with liquid in it. It registers at 0 when we put it on the pipe, and then we drill a hole and stick the tube in, and you'll see those levels go differently on each side. That tells us there's suction on the pipe and the system's running.
I see.
So it's just a performance indicator. And if they ever notice that to be 0 and 0, they need to call and say, okay, something's blocking the inlet, something's blocking the exhaust, the fan has quit, there's lost power to the fan, there's a situation that's caused it to stop. So that's really all they do to monitor. And then we require that they test every 2 years on their own or call us, and that will keep their warranty in effect, and that they record those results, that we know they did their testing. And obviously if we go back and, you know, I had one that they had no combustion air in their furnished room, and they had taken the existing radon system that we did not put in, and they hollowed out that pipe with a Sawzall or something and created an air for their furnace to draft out. And I said, no, we completely abandoned that system and put a whole new system in, and said they really need to deal with their HVAC person on the combustion air, because that's not what we do.
Right.
We do radon. So
right.
Anyway, people will cut into the systems and we label all the pipes so they know it's not a plumbing pipe. Please don't attach it to a waste system. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. So
because when you put one of these systems in, they have to be sealed to work properly. So
sealed,
if you're
100%.
Cutting into them or something, you're breaking that seal.
Absolutely.
And then they're not going to do what they're supposed to.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And pose a different threat to your home with backdrafting and combustion air.
Yeah, all kinds of issues.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Wow. Now you would think, like in a basement home, I know people think, well, how's that come up through the concrete? Or, I have concrete floor, so I don't need it. But that's not true.
Yeah, no, that's not true. There's a pressure difference. It's called, you've got the stack effect, where the warm air inside and the cold out, and it just pulls through the house. There's cracks and crevices. There's seams in the concrete below. Concrete's porous.
Sure.
So what we do isn't necessarily like remove. We create that pathway by depressurizing that. If we take the pressure off of that, it's not going to come up. So we depressurize your subslab or your submembrane or your sump pit, and there's other ways of doing it too, with heat recovery ventilators and different options there that we don't see much of in this area.
Yeah.
Of those. I mean, I haven't put any systems like that in, but
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So whether you have a basement or crawl space, either one, you have that potential to...
Right. And people say, well, I have a crawl space, and there's vents all the way around, so I don't have radon, right? No, that's not correct. So.
Well, foundation vents, the majority of the houses seem like they don't have enough, number one.
Right.
And, we forget to open them and this, that, and the other, so you really don't get the amount of air.
They're clogged with leaves.
Yeah, they're clogged. And this,
it's too
that,
dirty.
And
I don't want to do it.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, no, that's not always the most efficient thing anyhow. And matter of fact, I was out mowing the yard, weed eating the other day, and where my dryer vent comes out, I knew the dryer was running inside, but the little flaps wasn't opening. I didn't feel anything.
Uh-oh.
And I looked, and it was completely clogged shut, and I cleaned it out.
That will cause a fire.
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
I know. And so now...
I know someone who cleans those out.
Do you? Maybe I need to get on Mary's list to get their number.
Yeah. Maybe you should do that. No, that's a good idea. No, if you're outside and mowing or something and you notice that little flap's not open, you don't have stuff... Yeah, you've got a problem. You need to take care of that pretty quickly.
Yep.
So
yeah, because it was completely clogged up, and so I know the dryer probably wasn't working properly.
No, it wasn't.
Because the air had nowhere to go.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So I cleaned that thing out. But
good for you.
Home maintenance is always. People forget to do it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. We do. So.
Well, Dan says it's time for us to take a break.
Well, I think we better do it. If Dan says it, we better do it.
I'm telling you, he's in charge.
That's right,
we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more home repairs and solutions.
Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. First-degree murder charges are now facing a 65-year-old man in a shooting death north of Nixa. James Skindeline allegedly shot and killed Sidney Schumann at their home on North Belmont Court. He's being held on a $250,000 bond. Schumann's body was found in the driveway of the home where the two lived with two other men. Springfield police have identified a man stabbed to death on the city's west side. 29-year-old Curtis Story was found with a knife wound to his chest in the backyard of a home on South New. A relative of the victim was questioned by police but later released. Prosecutors will make a decision on any charges that might be filed in the case. And a Highway Patrol helicopter has rescued two men trapped by floodwaters south of Licking. 54-year-old Keith Duckworth and 53-year-old Wayne Arling, both from St. Louis, were trapped by floodwaters near Boiling Springs. Duckworth was flown to a St. Louis hospital to be treated for exposure. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
Go beyond yellow with Yellowbook 360. Yellowbook 360 provides a full spectrum of marketing tools and services customized to help your business achieve success. Let us build and host a website for you. Get your business found on search engines. Promote your business online, offline, through video ads and direct mail. You'll receive expert advice along the way and metrics reports to let you know your plan is working. Find out how Yellowbook 360 can help your business achieve success. Call 1-800-YB-YELLOW today. That's 1-800-YB-YELLOW.
Technology's great when it works. Hi, I'm Kim Commando. On my show, I talk about how to make the digital world work better for you. I can help you with everything. Cell phones to iPods, big screen TVs to internet safety for your kids, and the latest gadgets and gizmos. It's a digital world. I'll help you get the most out of it. It's informative and a heck of a lot of fun. Join me, Kim Commando, on KWTO AM 560, the Talk of the Ozarks.
The Kim Commando Show, Saturdays from 6 to 9 p.m. on KWTO AM 560. Celebrate Earth Day with Habitat for Humanity at the annual Earth Day at the Restore, Saturday, April 20th from 11 to 3. Get 30% off Restore items, plus there'll be live music and free food. Representatives from Earth-friendly organizations will be on hand to answer your questions. Bring the whole family to Earth Day at the Restore, Saturday, April 20th from 11 to 3 at 2410 South Scenic. For more information, visit habitatspringfieldmo.org.
Hi, I'm Angela Eden with MoDOT. Join us for Talkin' Transportation at 10 a.m. each Wednesday. This week, we'll update you on important road surface work just getting underway in the Warsaw area. That's Talkin' Transportation at 10 a.m. Wednesdays. You can hear us on KWTO AM 560, The Talk of the Ozarks, or catch us on the web at radiospringfield.com.
Breezy and cooler for today as sunshine gives way to a few clouds, high 52, clear skies and cold tonight. Temperatures below freezing down to 31. Milder tomorrow as clouds give way to sunny skies. High 65 as we start the weekend. Low 44 tomorrow night. Breezy on Sunday with a mix of clouds and sun. High 66. Then there is a chance for a thunderstorm on Monday. The high 68. I'm AccuWeather's Jason Lord.
It's 39 degrees in Springfield.
Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
And you're listening to Home Repairs and Solutions with Mark and Mary, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air Heating and Air Conditioning, your local Amana dealer. And now, once again, Mark Pearson. I said that last week. Mary Pearson and Mark Withers. I said that last week.
Yeah,
You did.
Mary Pearson and Mark Withers.
There you go.
Well, you know, Dan, you're consistent.
Sure, why not?
Well, I'm sure he's probably been called worse.
Oh, I'll guarantee you I've been called worse.
Actually, I have a brother-in-law named Mark Pearson. So
Well, that's
there is a
probably
real
not bad.
person
So
with that
there is
name.
a real
so.
person, yeah.
He's just not on the show.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I wonder if there's a Mary Withers anywhere.
probably.
Yeah, more than
probably.
likely.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, never know. So, but yes, I've been called worse. Trust me.
All righty. Well, welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
Here we are back with the second half of the show.
Good to be back.
It's good to be back. It's always good to be back. You know, you're talking about things you got going on this weekend. You're going to go to Herman. Well, most of the book club ladies, a couple of them aren't going to go. We're going to go to the Crystal Bridges Museum down in Bentonville tomorrow.
Really?
I'm real excited to go down there and check that out.
My uncle that I have coffee with every morning, him and his wife, my aunt, they went yesterday, took a bus trip down there.
Yeah.
And he said it was really neat.
I've looked at it on the internet. It looks like it's really pretty, and we're gonna we're taking a van. We're gonna take Bonnie's van, but
Yeah.
I think they have the Norman Rockwell exhibit down
Yes,
there.
they do.
And
That's
they
what he
said
was
it's supposed to
saying.
be really neat. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about checking that
Yeah.
out and seeing what all that's about.
He said, I'm not really into art, but he said it was very interesting. He enjoyed it.
And they have a lot of outdoor walking trails. I mean, the whole place just looks like it's a really
Yeah.
nice facility, real pretty. You can walk outside. There's
Yeah.
lots of things to do.
Yeah,
So.
and don't take that long to really get down there.
Not to Bentonville.
No.
A couple hours maybe.
Yeah, if that long.
Yeah, I think we're going to leave and stop somewhere and have a little bit of breakfast and then just kind of mosey on down there. And, we're not on a big time schedule or anything. So maybe I'll give a report on that next week and let everybody know how that is.
Absolutely.
I've been wanting to go down there, so I'm excited to do that.
It looks
so.
neat.
Yeah, I think so.
So it'll be a fun day trip.
But if you're not day tripping somewhere and you're thinking about Radon,
Yeah.
then you're at the right place.
That's right.
'Cause
You are.
We have Debbie Morrow with us from the Radon Company. She's a expert on all this radon business and how to get it out of your house so that you don't have any health issues and or less radon health issues.
That's right.
Won't take care of all of
Cancer.
your health
No.
issues. Yeah.
Lung cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions for Debbie, she'd love to hear from you today. And those numbers, once again, are 862-9977 or 1-800-375-0056. Or you can text the number, and I don't know what the text number is.
417-838-3192.
Yeah, and you can text us your question, and we'd be happy to answer that for you today. Yeah. Or anything else you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Anything else that's going on in your world. So
yeah, we'll talk about anything.
We're pretty easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to just talk about radon or whatever else is going on in your world. But so my question is, you're talking about a lot of times the home inspector is the one who does that, but it's not necessarily something that is a requirement for a home loan at this point, is it, to have that done?
No, I'm not aware of any lenders that require it. Most of the homes that are repossessed from the banks and that are bank-owned properties, the banks normally will get all inspections. We've done some for some of the local banks, done some systems, where their levels were higher. So, I don't know that it's a requirement anywhere that they test for it.
I'm just wondering because, they have so many different requirements now to closing a home and stuff, and they're changing all the time. And so I'm just wondering at what point that's going to be a requirement to either buy or sell a home, because they have so many. It seems like they're always adding, now you have to do this and now you have to do that. The first time that we bought a home was a long time ago. And I think my husband and I signed it was like a single document
One
or
page,
something.
sure.
And now you buy a house and it's like, holy moly. They came up with the Paperwork Reduction Act. Yeah, that's a joke.
Yeah.
So now it's like 40 pages or something. It's got all this stuff and all these things you got to do and on and on. And so anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point that doesn't become a requirement.
Right. And it might be testing in some other states. I'm not aware. It sure could be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know other states are pretty, like Illinois is very proactive. They've tested all of their schools.
Really?
In 4,000 some schools, I think it was, and that number may not be correct, but I was at the International Radon Symposium in Vegas last year, and Illinois made a big showing. Sweden, there was a lot of people from Sweden there.
Really?
Yeah. So, it's definitely an awareness. It's not a new thing by any means, but once you're aware of something, that's just one more thing you can mark off. That's not going to affect me.
Right.
If your home has mold, you'll get rid of it. And
sure,
people always say, well, what does the system cost? Well, it's across the board, because if you have a little bitty house with, boom, we're in and out of there, then it may not be very expensive. And we've had some that ran up a little bit more, but it sure is cheaper, I'm sure, than MRIs and X-rays and removal of a lung and chemo and radiation.
Oh, yeah, and all that yucky stuff that goes along with all that.
Right.
Yeah.
And in going with that, Cancer Survivors Against Radon, which is CANSAR.org, cancer.org, is a website that features not features, but talks about the people that have survived lung cancer from radon. And there's some doctors you can look at on there, their response to some of this. And the radon company, every time we put an installation in someone's home, we do make a small donation to cancer.org.
Yeah.
And so they appreciate that. And it's a little awareness that, it's out there. And you can go to their website and look. It's very nice and informative and, let you know exactly how this all comes about for you.
Well, we have a caller holding on.
Yes, we do.
We have Corbin here in Springfield.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good morning.
That was my question. I was going to find out, what does have to be disclosed? You're talking about, the radon, the mold. One thing that, you see a lot of now is you can see some of these houses that are getting repossessed and they were making meth in there, and then the people are getting sick and they have no earthly idea. Then all of a sudden it comes out, well, there's people growing, or not growing, but making meth in there because of all the chemicals. So
Right.
I'm just kind of curious what all has to be disclosed, what all doesn't have to be disclosed or can be hid, for lack of a better term.
Right. Well, with disclosure, if you're making a meth lab and you're selling your house and you fill out a seller's disclosure statement for your real estate transaction, I doubt you're going to disclose it if you're doing meth.
Well, yeah,
so it's up to, it's an honesty thing, but there's no...
Yeah, but I mean, some of these are, if somebody's doing it, they're usually doing like some sort of rental house or something like that.
Sure.
No one's, getting out and saying, hey, I think I'm looking at a meth lab in the house today because I need a little extra money.
Right.
But,
well, we're always encouraged to disclose when you sell a home you're supposed to disclose. So I would think if you have a radon reduction system in your home, it's very evident. You can see it, and you would put that on the disclosure. And now the real estate listings even have a category to check that you have a radon system installed. But if you're not aware of a level of radon, you certainly can't disclose it. But once you do know, I would think you would be obligated to disclose that our radon levels were elevated and we didn't put a system in, or we did,
Okay. Yeah, that I'm just kind of curious, in the floodplain, I mean, if the house has been flooding, aren't you supposed to disclose that too?
Sure. And that's the thing in real estate. When you fill out those disclosure statements, I mean, it's kind of, it is kind of an honesty thing, but there is specific questions that ask you that. And if you say no, and later on the people who buy the house come back and find out that you knew that this was an issue, say it was being used as meth or something, I'd say there's some legal action that could be taken there.
Yeah, probably. I mean, most of the time you can investigate a home when you're living in it or you have your inspections. They're going to figure out what's going on in there anyway if the seller didn't disclose. So
yeah. But what about like sinkhole areas? Because I mean, I hate to say that's getting something that's been. Yeah, I mean that's really.
I don't know. I do radon. I don't do sinkhole. Yeah.
Well, we had and this has been back a few years ago, a house. I believe it was out in Battlefield, and the homeowners did not disclose that there was a sinkhole under the house, and in the home inspection, we found out it was, and so. Now, whether they knew it or not, who knows? Maybe they'd never been under their house, and if they didn't know it, they couldn't disclose it. But if you know it's there, it's your responsibility. You should disclose that.
Right, and there's sinkhole maps and things like that that you can get your hands on, I'm sure. And most of the non-disclosure issues, I would think, would be that they're not aware of it themselves.
Yeah, and that's why we have home inspections.
Indeed.
Just for that reason right there.
Indeed.
All right, so... All right, appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Corbin.
Thanks for the call, Corbin.
In being in real estate, and you probably experienced this too, sometimes a home inspector can cause you more problems than you can imagine.
Sometimes.
I mean, I've lost sales because of, but if you're on the other side of the coin, if you're a homeowner or a future home buyer, spend that $250, $300, whatever it is, to get it inspected, because there may be stuff that the homeowner just don't know.
Right.
And there may be stuff that the homeowner is hiding from you.
Right. And a good home inspector is going to look past the caulking, the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll note it, but they're looking for things that you don't know. They're under the house and in the attic and around, and they're looking for things. And the majority of them are pretty darn good at spotting things.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
And the radon test machines they use, they don't lie. You can't tweak them. He can't go in there and say, okay, well, I'm going to get a false high or false low to make the deal work. It is what it is. The canisters, you send them in, those are sent back. The levels are sent back. You can't fake those. Our machines, it runs a sample of air. It takes a sample of the air every hour for 48 hours. We print that out. Boom, it shows that graph. We can't change that. So they're very accurate and very honest. You can't fake one.
Yeah.
Now, earlier when we were kind of talking about this, one of the things you said that to get an accurate reading on a home, you needed to open up the house for so long and then close it down.
Yes.
And how does that work? Now, go over that again.
It's called a closed house condition, and to set the radon test and have it be accurate, you want a closed house condition. Basically, you're not wanting to run any whole house fans, attic fans. You're not going to want to run anything that's going to ventilate that home more. You want to air it out and then close it up, close all the windows and doors. You can do normal ingress and egress. You can run your furnaces and air conditioner units. But then you want to have it closed up for 12 hours prior to setting your radon test. And then set your test, and it'll run for 48 hours. Like I said, you can come and go, but you wouldn't want to leave your bath exhaust fans on.
I see.
To try to create a false test.
I see. Okay. Would that also include like shutting down your vents around your foundation, or does that matter?
No, I don't believe you have to shut your foundation vents down, but you don't want to create that pull of air through there. So,
okay, interesting stuff.
Yes, it is.
Kind of scary too, a little bit.
It kind of is, but it's one of those things. It's just like mold. It's there. I mean, it's
there. Yeah, it's just there.
It's just nature.
Yeah.
And it is kind of scary sometimes, but it's just something that we have to deal with.
Yeah, but it is preventable. I mean, you can get rid of it. You can give it a pathway out so you don't have to worry about it. Just like mold, if you've got mold, you've got a water source somewhere creating
Sure,
that mildew
yeah.
that could be mold, whatever. So just again, take a look at your houses and your maintenance of them and check them out. But with radon, it doesn't matter if you maintained your house poorly or you maintained it, perfectly. You can still have a radon issue. And they estimate 1 in every 15 homes probably has an elevated level
That was
of
my
radon.
next question. Is I wondered, percentage-wise, how many they thought had elevated levels.
That's
So-
what they said, 1 in 15. And again, that's an average. So they average that with everywhere. Radon's everywhere in the United States. The EPA sites have maps that you can see that are, red dots and yellow dots and, where it's more concentrated. And it might be more concentrated based on the geological soil, whatever that they can check. But it's available everywhere to be in your home. So just because you're in a yellow area doesn't mean you don't have radon on the maps.
What area is Missouri in?
We're pretty much solely orange on that map of the United States. Red being more in the north and northwest, and yellow being more on the east and southeast. So
we're
right in the middle.
We're
again.
right in the middle. Just there must be a reason
a
why
good
we're
place
in the
to
middle.
be. Yeah,
That's
it's a good place
So
to be.
we're kind of in the middle.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, if you have a crawl space home, and I know one of the things that folks are going to say, well, we put vapor barrier down there. It's got plastic and everything, but it's not sealed, and it
No.
has to be sealed. That's very important.
The key. That's the key to it. Your vapor barriers are usually laid in there, and so there's a lot of breaks in them. They're not one big giant piece, so they're seamed. We seal every seam with an adhesive. We tape around all the piers, seal with adhesive, tape the piers, go up the walls. Under that vapor barrier is a 4-inch perforated drain tile like you use on your landscaping. That's going to let that air soak in there, and then we assist it with the fan, pipe it up through the house again. So it's going to shrink wrap your crawl space if you think of it that way, you got to seal it up and let that air go.
So this system, like if you put one under a crawl space, is this like is it like tarp type material, or is it harder? Is it like hard plastic, or what exactly is it? What's the material?
It's a plastic. What we use is a 6 mil, and it's braided and cross laminated. It's very puncture and very tear resistant.
Okay.
You can use, you can get it at Lowe's and different places that are black. You can get white. Some places have a blue. Ours is a clear, and you can see the lamination through it and the braiding through it. So it is very puncture and tear resistant. It's easy to walk on. What we use is I call it a fabric. Actually, it's very pliable. It's real easy to spread out. Some of them are so hard and crackly to use. You can't get them all spread out nice, and they're just big. You know.
I see.
Yeah. So our systems look really good. Our guys do a great job. So, but that's the kind that we use.
So, and then my reason for asking that is because a lot of times you have ductwork, or you have water piping or anything in your crawl space. So even with that system, you can still get under there if you have a situation where you need to get under there and fix something, repair something, replace something.
You can still go on it. Yeah.
Okay, without really worrying about damaging the
right. And that's why we label our pipes so they know not to tie into that if they're in doing other work. And we're doing a system actually today. He's on that job, and the duct work for the furnace is lying in the crawl space, and it's right on the ground. Well, he's got to work that fabric under that.
Yeah.
And there are times when we have to go around some issues, but we'll work under that. And some of them are pretty tight. I've been in a great majority of them myself. I'm surprised that I have gone under there, and he did one that was just so incredibly tight. He said, if I had gone and ate lunch, I would have not got back under the house. And I said, I am not going under that one. I'll take your word. But, he'll shoot me pictures under there and stuff, too, so we know what we're talking about.
Well, and to put that under there also helps. That's going to help the ductwork too, because now it's getting it off the ground. Ductwork sitting on the ground isn't the best situation.
Well, we don't move any of that. I mean,
I know, but what you're saying is, but you're putting it under there so that's not sitting in the dirt. Because moisture and stuff will rot that ductwork and make it rust out and all kinds of things. So you're solving more than one issue in that case.
Yay!
So
happy to help.
That homeowner should be real happy about that.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. One very important thing, you need to give out your number so folks can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Give me a call. It's 417, of course. My number is 818-4776. And the website is theradonco.com, and that's THERADONCO.com. And it's a minimal site. It's got a lot of question answers, some pictures, so not real high tech, I guess, but
it doesn't need to be to get the information out there.
No, I wanted it simple. And you've got my numbers on there, a couple of links to CANSAR and some different places, so you can kind of look around EPA's link there if you need to go on that site. The EPA site, you can get lost there like most of the
I'll
sites.
bet.
You can go
sure.
everywhere.
Information overload.
And forget where you started. Absolutely. But no, there's some questions and some pictures and things like that.
Well, all of that is great information.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
Good
is.
to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. So if anyone's out there and you're kind of concerned about it, or if you're not sure, go to our website, kind of check it out and see. And then if you still think that you might have an issue or concern, I suggest you call Debbie and have her come out and
Yeah.
at least do the testing for you.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes just not knowing is frustrating, you know, but once you know, I mean, just get the test done, then you know, and 1 in 15, so you might be okay. Your house
Yeah.
might be okay, and then you know you're okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is the levels, do they change from, say, winter to summer? You know, because like in the winter, if the ground's froze and stuff, are the levels less or more? Does it matter?
Yeah, oftentimes the atmosphere will play a part in that, because when your house is warm with the heating on and it's colder outside, you know, it draws, and you feel that air coming through your window sometimes. So yeah, it's going to make a difference. But that's why they really recommend doing these long-term tests that'll go for 2 or 3 months, you know, and just check at different times of the year. So you really know what you're dealing with. In a real estate transaction, that's not going to happen. We've got 30 days and we're
Sure.
packing a lot
Sure,
into
yeah.
it, appraisals
Yeah.
and tests
Oh, yeah.
and repairs and all of that. So if the levels are high, they check and treat the house, you know, we put in the system. So yeah, different times of the year. And you might, if you look at one of the tests, the peaks and valleys, just every hour where they grab the air, you might have a peak here at night or in the daytime, different times. So if it's that far across the board, it can change, you know, every day. You might have a high level today and tomorrow you won't. That's why we deal with averages and everything. So
Okay.
And that's why you do your testing. You said you do it over a 48-hour period.
it's a
instead of
48-hour, yeah, our box is about this big. It's a little continual radon monitor, and it grabs a sample of that air every hour for 48 hours, and then it averages it out.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I hadn't thought about the change of the seasons. That was a good question, Mark.
Yay.
Well, thank you. Every now and then I will come up with something.
A little little genius idea there.
Yeah.
My little mind just goes all the time.
Sometimes forward, sometimes backwards.
Yeah,
huh?
a lot of times backwards, that's for sure. So,
Dan just told me we have about 3 minutes left.
well, this has been a great show because the information that we have put out to the folks, I think, is very important. And you know, anytime that we can help maybe improve a person's health or prevent
Absolutely.
something like, you know, cancer or anything, I think it's a plus for sure.
Right.
And so I think this is what folks need to think about having this done.
Absolutely.
Whether they've lived in the same house for 25, 30 years or it's a brand new house they're just moving in, it's probably pretty
That's right.
important to have it
Everybody's
done.
at risk. There's
Yeah.
no safe level of radon. I mean, you can walk outside. Their average outside air is 0.4. You can walk out there and breathe it in. I mean, there's no safe level. But when we know we spend a concentrated amount of time in a space, let's fix it. You know, let's
Yeah.
take a fix
Yeah.
it.
Well, if nothing else, we've let people know that this is a possibility and awareness.
Yeah.
You know, you can't fix something if you don't know about
Absolutely.
it.
That's right.
So just getting the information out there, and for me, I learned a lot. I had heard about radon. I knew it was some sort of natural gas, but other than that, I really didn't know. I didn't know it caused lung cancer. I didn't know all this.
That's the only
stuff.
thing they found it to
So-
cause is
Yeah.
lung
Yeah.
cancer. It
Well,
posed
that-
no other health threat.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
That's bad
Yeah.
enough.
No, it is bad enough. It
Yeah.
is
That's
bad,
bad
enough.
enough.
But
Yeah, no
but
doubt.
so that's just kind of interesting that, and you can't. I mean, it's just always going to be with us. If it's a natural process, you know, it's just always going to be here. So
Yeah.
it's just something to think about.
Yep, that's true.
Yep.
Yep. Give out your numbers one more time.
it's the Radon Company, 417-818-4776 or www.theradonco.com.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for being our guest and giving us all this great information.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was great. I'm always glad to educate people on it if I can.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day tomorrow.
Well, same to you.
Good luck with your music up there. Those people in Herman, you get up there and they're going to want you to come back every year, Mark.
Well, I hope so.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love
That'd
that.
be great.
So,
Hope you have nice weather.
I think we will. I hope so anyhow.
I hope you do too,
yeah.
and I'm looking forward to the museum. Like I said,
Oh,
maybe
that'll be
I'll give you a
fun.
report on it next
Okay,
week.
we'll count
Let you
on
know what
that.
I think about it and how it is. But it looks great on the internet, so I'm excited.
We'll count on that. So, well, this is Home Repairs and Solutions. We're heard every Friday morning right here on AM 560 KWTO. Leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions."